After months, if not years, of planning, you're finally at the stage where you can launch your airline and start flying. The most significant moment, and certainly one to remember, is that this day will go down in your airline's history as the day it got airborne for the first time. The primary task at this point will be to unveil your airline to the travel industry and the wider traveling public. You aim to ignite an interest in your airline to spark the imagination of your potential future passengers. You must then swiftly convert that spark into forward bookings to get revenue and start replacing some of the substantial capital outlay you've spent to date. Whether carrying passengers, freight, or a combination of both, the revenue services approach represents a watershed moment in your airline's development. It marks the point whereby your dreams are converted from existing on paper only into a legal operating entity with all the rights and responsibilities that running an airline brings. To that end, you have every right to relish this moment, to reflect on your efforts to date and reflect on what has gone well and perhaps not quite well. But most of all, it's time to look ahead with further optimism and excitement as your new venture is revealed and bookings finally commence. With your first aircraft painted and polished, your initial crew complement smiling and ready, and banners and flags unfurled, it's time to announce your airline, brand and service proposition to the world's media. The traditional way to perform this task is to hold a formal press launch. These are often held either at your home base airport, perhaps inside a hangar, where your first aircraft is unveiled in a dazzling display of lights, music, smoke, and even sometimes from behind a huge curtain. Plan to have some of your top executive team make presentations, meet those present, and give extensive interview time to get the key messages out, including when flights go on sale and when services are scheduled to commence. You'll invite travel industry representatives worldwide, journalists, airline industry executives, investors, friends, and family to this event. The idea is to present your new airline as something new, fresh, and different from all the other carriers your guests might have experienced before. It's also a shop window, your primary opportunity to announce your airline on the world stage and persuade the general public, travel agents, and other key stakeholders that your airline is worth flying. After all, if you miss this opportunity, you may need to plow an additional fortune into your marketing strategy to make the same impact that executing your press launch could create. You should pick a day as far out as possible and send invitations to your esteemed invitees so they can make travel arrangements to get to your launch venue. You should also ensure as much as possible that your launch will be distinct from other industry events. Conversely, you might use this to your advantage. Suppose there is a major travel convention, industry conference, or airline regulatory meeting in your country around that same time. In that case, you might benefit by fortuitously having a large proportion of your target audience in your country at that time. Before your launch event, you may have sent out teasers via social media, tipped off particular journalists or news organizations, or subtly spread the word by other means. After all, if your first aircraft has been sitting outside Boeing's factory for several weeks, resplendent in your carrier's new livery, you can guarantee that someone will have picked up on it. However, a press launch's focus is to dispel any rumors or inconsistencies about your airline and set out the facts, albeit in an ostentatious display that creates excitement and curiosity in equal measure. You want people to leave your launch event activated to spread your message on your behalf, that your airline is something new and different and needs to be tried. Yet it is more than that. The launch event will be the conduit by which you must ensure that your brand and message meet an audience as far and wide as possible. The next day, you want to see images from the event broadcast worldwide, published in print media, and the talk of the town on the leading social media channels. Remember, everything you can do to secure future business and a loyal following as early as possible in your airline's existence means that the marketing task can refocus as your airline develops. So, in summary, the main objectives of the press launch are to introduce your airline and its brand, increase promotion and awareness of your operation, commence forward bookings, Create a loyal early following or customer base, and use the event as a starting point for the final countdown to the launch of revenue services. With these 5 key objectives in mind, plan a day to remember for all those invited, in addition to the millions more that may come across the coverage of it in the days, weeks, and months that follow. Following a successful launch event, your main task will be to keep momentum building as you head towards the commencement of services. There are several ways of doing this, all of which serve to keep promoting your airline and spreading brand awareness. Consider operating demonstration flights for media outlets, airline or travel journalists, and travel agency staff. Such flights could serve a dual purpose of operating familiarization flights for airport staff, cabin crew, and pilots, while showcasing your onboard service offerings to influential parties that might assist with the marketing effort. They're also a good way of getting your airline noticed at other airports. They convey that your airline is operational, safely flying and carrying passengers. Having aircraft in the air and getting seen can all increase your airline recognition even before you commence regular operations. As part of this process, you might consider prize winner flights, whereby your marketing efforts elsewhere generate a list of individuals you can reward free flights to before regular operations start. Again, such operations can prove helpful in bringing new crews up to speed on cabin service provision, provide familiarization training for flight crews, and of course, have the additional potential to assist in the building of a loyal passenger base who may well keep using your airline in the future. During the interim period between launch and commencing regular services, airlines have often been known to fly other types of flights too, from sub-charters for other carriers to carrying cargo in passenger holds and troop carrying missions to one-off ad hoc charter flights. One type of flight you will be required to operate is route-proving flights and certification flights with your regulatory body, which oversees your operation. These flights may involve some of the flight operations mentioned above. Yet, you may be required to operate empty return leg journeys on the route or routes you intend to run regularly so that the regulatory body can sign off your operating certificate permitting your airline to commence revenue operations. Remember that any operations your airline undertakes before the formal commencement of services can be a valuable way to promote your airline. But be aware of the risks of doing so too. Anything can go wrong on these flights, and your airline's reputation could be on the line before it even gets going. From aircraft having technical issues to poorly trained staff, and from delays or cancellations to incidents that might ground a flight, such problems can and will tarnish a new airline's brand and reputation even before it has boarded its first revenue passenger. 2 days before the inaugural flight of Virgin Atlantic on June 22, 1984, their airline's sole aircraft, a Boeing 747-200 registered Golf Victor India Romeo Golf, was operating a Civil Aviation Authority or CAA approval flight from London Gatwick with hundreds of Virgin staff and crew on board, along with the inspectors from the CAA. This aircraft had just arrived in London on delivery from Seattle the previous day. As the plane climbed out from Gatwick, an engine ingested a bird and had to be shut down, forcing an immediate return to the airport. Upon inspection, the engine required changing, and maintenance crews worked through the next 36 hours to ensure that the inaugural flight went ahead on time and as planned, with 250 journalists, camera operators, and VIPs on board. However, the world's media were alerted, and the airline's skeptics had a field day. With the press launch safely behind you and some actual flying hours under your airline's belt, you'll be heading towards the most significant event possible in your airline's lifetime, the inaugural flight. By this point, you should have developed a media and social following, have a firm foundation of loyal future customers avidly watching your every move, a decent amount of forward bookings in your reservation systems, and everything in place that you'll need to provide the services you've been promoting for months, both safely and reliably. Some airlines prefer a soft launch approach to operations, whereby the date of the first flight is quietly loaded into reservation systems and the event occurs with barely a whisper. Others, however, make a huge deal of this event, inviting seemingly every dignitary in the area to attend to milk as much additional publicity as possible. By all means, have balloons and banners, cut cakes, make speeches, and hand out giveaways to anyone passing. It is a day of celebration, for taking a breath, and for everyone involved to slap each other's backs in mutual appreciation of all that has been achieved. Often, CEOs of new airlines will travel on the inaugural flights, speaking to the press invited along for the ride, before throwing another party at the arrival gate for all returning passengers waiting for the return leg flight back to base. Photos and footage from that day will be around long after the deflated balloons have been taken down. As time passes by, and with good management and an eye on the details at all times, your airline will hopefully build and grow. You should develop a base of regular and loyal customers, good relationships with suppliers, and employ a happy, contented crew and other staff. You will aim to build passenger confidence and financial security, ensure safety is maintained, and earn high levels of customer satisfaction. Your marketing strategy will evolve alongside the airline to take advantage of new technologies, grow markets, and seek new opportunities. Much of this will rely on gut instinct, working with high degrees of management skills to make it work. But as much as this might be an exciting course to steer, it should also be seen as a challenge. The work of making your airline the best it can be never stops, and if you ever think that your airline has achieved as much as it possibly can, then quite simply, you need to look harder.
But most importantly, I'd like to thank and recognize the 18,000 dedicated and talented Gulfstream employees all around the world, from Savannah to Singapore and everywhere in between. The things that they've done have, with their passion and commitment to innovation, and the things that they do every day have helped us reach higher, fly faster, and make the seemingly impossible possible. Our employees are the ones that fulfill the Gulfstream promise. Right? But just because I'm biased doesn't mean I'm not right. It's an amazing job to walk through the test hangars and see the incredible job that our team has done. These airplanes look great, wouldn't you agree? So as you've seen, we've manufactured several of the test airplanes now, and we're clearly ready to begin that testing. The team has already successfully instrumented and calibrated the very first test airplane, clearing the way for our flight test to begin. This team has truly gone above and beyond to deliver on the Gulfstream tradition of making sure that we meet all of our promises. Their dedication has been nothing short of exceptional, and please join me in thanking them for a job well done. We appreciate the loyalty that both of these customers have shown to us and the relationship that we'll have for many years to come. We are confident that you will appreciate the G700 as much as we do, because this airplane is as much your vision as it is ours. To our customers that have worked side by side for several years now to help us design an aircraft worthy of your endeavors, we thank you for your insight and your collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your attention tonight. Thank you for helping us launch this wonderful new aircraft. We invite you to enjoy the evening, take a chance to see the G700, and I really appreciate all of you being here tonight on this lovely evening. Thank you very much.
In the final part of this series, we'll be taking in the highs and the lows of starting your airline. We'll also reflect on the journey we began in Part 1 when starting your airline seemed like a pipe dream. What else does your inauguration need? What do you expect from an inaugural flight? Tell us in the comments. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.